All right, guys, very special edition of Stacking Pennies on location with a very special guest who needs no introduction, but my man is making his inaugural Daytona 500. You've seen him do double backflips. You've seen him jump out of airplanes with no parachutes. You've seen him jump out of hotels. What hasn't he jumped off of or jumped into? Foam pits. Travis Pastrana joining us right here on Stacking Pennies.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Dude, I'm so pumped up you're here. We were sitting here watching you and Connor Daly and your group of buddies like take pictures with like the big backdrop of Daytona in the background. Like, and Ryan says, "Look how much fun these guys are having."
We're really doing it, Harry. Let's go.
It's refreshing to see.
Yeah,
dude. Well, what's interesting is by the time you get good enough to do what you love, for the most part, you don't truly love what you do. And I've been able to kind of bounce and always have my passion on the line. And to come up here, I always want to do the Daytona 500. I want to be a part of the Great American Race. I mean, my family was more, they're all motorheads, but more motocross and that kind of style. Cause that's what they were into. That's what they could afford really is motorcycles. And having the chance to come out here, an event that all of my friends, family, we would watch. It was a holiday every year. The Daytona 500 is something. We go to our buddy Dale Gertz's house, and it started out with like 100 people as far as when I can remember it. Now there's like almost 1,000 people. He's got what used to be a little dirt track, and now it's paved oval and go-karts. And
where's this, dude?
Seriously, right? Going on this weekend, and for the 500, there's going to be 1,000 people. He had it catered for a couple years. It would cost too much, so now he's, you got a BYOB, but it's a good time.
Dude, I want to invite to that next year.
Yeah, whenever you're not here, man.
Okay, well, hopefully I'm here for another decade or so.
Yeah.
But, man, what's your initial you've been here running Xfinity races and stuff like that, but this is the Daytona 500 weekend is just different. So what is it that you didn't expect necessarily?
I just been really fortunate. I mean, guys like you and so many people with experience, every one of the drivers has reached out. They've all gone out of their way to help. Yesterday I made a mistake. I didn't think there was any room in between me and the inside car, maybe a half of a truck. And Chase Elliott was there, and they were like 3 wide top. And I'm like, there's no So I kind of came down a little bit, and all 3 of us on the bottom was like touching the bottom, touching me, and I was like, there's a whole lane on the top. I'm like, how is this even possible? So Chase came to me after. He goes, "Hey, did you know I was there?" I said, "I just didn't think." He goes, "Look, no one's going to follow you. No offense. So the second you leave any kind of a car length,
it's going to be filled.
It's going to be filled." And that was just cool. Like, everyone is there. Help me. Kurt Busch has been amazing. Like, he found out I was doing this, and I was there like at the shop just doing pit practice, and he comes out. He drives an hour just to come out and shoot the shit, really.
Yeah.
It's I love all of the guys here and the girls and everybody that's involved, and just the passion for racing. It's, I flew in from not to keep talking, but
no, man, that's why I had you on.
I
want to hear you talk.
Yeah.
I want to hear you talk.
No, but I flew in. I had 2 snow races back-to-back weekends coming in Sweden and then Canada, and I'm literally on the floor in Quebec making the red-eye flight. I'm watching all the guys race the Clash.
Yeah.
And I flew in, and 3 of the guys racing the Clash on Monday at 10 a.m. are all racing Volusia on dirt track. And it's so cool to see that everyone here just in the NASCAR community loves racing.
You got yourself a gator out there at Volusia too, by the way.
I got a gator. Yeah, Crafton gave me a lot of crap. I gave $1 to him every other night. But one night I won a gator, and he still hasn't got one. So sorry, Crafton.
Let's freaking go. Now, you filled your schedule. It wasn't like you came down to Daytona just to see the sights all week and then race one race. Dirt modifieds, truck series race, Daytona. What is it, just to get back in the rear? You said you're not good at what'd you say?
Rear-wheel drive or pavement?
Yeah, rear-wheel drive or pavement. So
we're doing both this week.
Were you trying to get the juices kind of back flowing a little bit to get ready?
To be honest, it's just with the Black Rifle Coffee guys. They said, "Hey, look, we really want to do stuff that's more community based, it's more veteran based. We want to do stuff that's grassroots. What do you want to do this year?" I said, "Daytona 500."
Let's go.
They were like, "That has nothing to do with anything we just said." I'm like, "No, dude, you got speed weeks. We'll go out there. We'll be a part of it. We'll support Matt Crafton. We'll go with, you got Al Geyer, and there's so many of the guys. Arpin."
Yeah.
And Crafton's like, "Well, you'd be a sissy if you didn't bet me $1. Like, I think he's just trying to get some of his dollars back. But, Arpin got me a car ready in 4 days.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're down there and we're racing. And, for me, I'm not afraid to jump into something and fail. You've seen me fail all the way through. We've been racing K&N all the way up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just want to see what we can do. I want to have fun. I love driving. And I think that's what's kind of cool coming in. Like, I don't know so much about the sport, even being involved for, I did a full season, did another year of K&N, and we've been around, and I know racing, I know how to drive a car, but dude, I got a 193-page report on drafting analytics. Like, it wasn't even like there's no book on tape.
You get more pages than he gets.
I didn't get that book.
Yeah.
No.
What made this year the year to do it? Is there anything about the next-gen car that made it more appealing?
Robbie Benton actually reached out last year before the Clash. He's like, hey, look, no one's got any experience on these cars. I broke my back, unfortunately, right before that. But coming out, he goes, you have sequential shifting. It's like most of our guys don't have that.
Yeah.
When I was with Robbie Benton, they were like, hey, you didn't know a lot about side drafting and high speeds, but what do you think about running our car in the Clash? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, these guys don't have a lot of experience with these vehicles.
Yeah.
This will be a good time. And that kind of got the wheels turning for, I never made it to the Daytona 500. This is something before I can even remembering. This was an event that was a holiday for our family. I mean, dude, I've requested over 200 tickets. I had to buy 199 of them, but still, this is every long lost friend, relative, even just qualifying. I had 380 texts that night.
Dang.
When I got off. This is bigger than landing a double backflip at the X Games, and it's the first event I've ever gone in that's not about winning for me. Just to be a part of it and to hopefully not wreck anyone's day, and to be able to get in there. I mean, I'm on the last row, but I'm next to 7-time NASCAR Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. I'm like, oh, I'm around some good guys. And I look up, I'm like,
they're all good guys.
They're all good guys.
Yes. So you said that it's bigger than doing a double backflip, which as a spectator, I could argue not, because I remember being locked into the TV 2006 watching you do what seemed like impossible. Do the nerves relate as you're sitting at the top of that ramp there to driver intros, you think, tomorrow?
When you're in a car, and you guys know as much as anyone, the nerves kind of go away. Having said that, I ran a high heart rate of 182.
It's up there.
With an average of, when I was in the pack, it was about 165 to 175. No, in the truck race last night when we were running. The duel, I was a lot lower because I was just sitting back, and I still managed to mess it up. And it's funny because outside of the car, everyone's like, well, why did you just drive around it? But inside, I couldn't see the car in front of me. Yeah. So I'm trying to slow down. And right when I realized I needed to do something, I locked it up and just went straight.
Yeah.
And it just looked like deer in the headlights. And it's hard for me coming into this because most of the NASCAR fans, they know me maybe as motorcycles or stunts. They don't follow rally. They don't know all the car experience, all the time that we've spent together racing and doing stuff like that. So they're like, well, why are you in there? And it was cool coming to Volusia. I would definitely have a lot to learn there on dirt and the modifieds, but to get a Gator, I felt like I gained the respect of kind of that community. And then to come here with that and just they were replaying, unfortunately, everything that I'm saying, which I need to watch what I say.
Always. The mic is always hot, my friend.
Always hot. But the cool part about that is I'm learning as we go. And, even crashing out on the duels, just kind of running into the pile in front of me, it was still one of the greatest experiences of my life, getting to run a cup car at Daytona. Like my dad said, I got 10th, when Kyle put it, destroyed his car.
Yeah.
We're running 6th, 7th. He goes up. I go across the grass backwards in 10th. I'm like, oh, man, I thought we had a top 5 there. My dad's like, dude, I'd have given my left nut to be able to slide backwards at 180 through the infield at Daytona.
Dude, no doubt. So, oh, man, I had a thought, and I just lost it.
I got one.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, so is this a one-and-done type race, you think, on the NASCAR side?
I tried my hardest to see what it took to be a NASCAR driver. My skill set is not pavement. It's not rear-wheel drive. To even maybe give a shot at potentially being good enough to make a living in the sport, it would be 3 to 5 years of every single hour of every day of my life. I love my family, and I'm like, the reason you asked the question earlier, why are you doing it now? I said, because we've come off 2 at the U.S. Rally Championship, the Nitro Rallycross Championship. I've had more seat time than I've ever had in my life. I got to slide cars at 130, 140 miles an hour in Gymkhana. We out-qualified the world champion in an all-pavement track. Scott Speed as a teammate the last couple of years, just showing me a little bit of how that kind of works and how pavement driving works. I will never be a better driver than I am right now with what I want to do as a husband and as a father and as a family man. 2 really big losses in my life this year with Ken Block and Ron Meredith. Ron ran my race team, and he was unfortunately died on a motorcycle crash, and Ken Block and nothing they were really pushing themselves outside the normal. But I keep saying to my family, I'm like, I'll be home eventually. I'm chasing my dream, and I realize that there's bigger stuff than this. But for me right now, with the sponsorships like Black Rifle and Dixon, and even just friends at Wiener Schnitzel, they're like, how much are you short? All right, we're going to come. And dude, my friends, I had one of my buddies, like, he fell asleep before the race finished because of all the yellow flags. Ended up pissing himself. I come in my little motorhome and
really
he's
tired
just on the floor, tired.
Dude, really tired.
He drank too much, evidently. Water, of course. And so my friends are having an amazing time. My family's having an amazing time. And to be a part of this race, there's never an opportunity for me to have a better foot forward. Calling Denny and just asking around and be like, hey, what can you do? Or what's possible? And when Denny looked me in the eye and he goes, look, we can get you a car that's capable of being up there. And I believe that you can be an asset to the Toyotas. I can believe that you can help us win, whether that's Tyler, whether that's Bubba, whether that's Denny, whether that's one of the Toyota boys, or whether that's me. That meant more than anything. To be like, hey, we're not just giving you whatever car we can get and bring your money. I thought that was really cool. He's like, man, you run cars sideways all the time. He's like, I wouldn't trust you in a mile and a half or in a short track. Like, you're not as good as us at this stuff. Yeah. And I know that. But at Daytona, they believe, my team at least, that I'm good enough and have the car control to handle a vehicle to where they can rely on me to push and to be pushed. And this one-off race is my one chance to live the American dream and race the great American race.
Freaking love that.
You've spoken a lot about family, and when you came down to start racing Xfinity cars, you brought your cousin Greg with you, who was a big part of Nitro Circus, and he's been on the pit crew side, and he stuck around even after you're gone, and his goal was to carry tires for you. Now, by the time he was ready to go over the wall, you had already kind of departed your NASCAR path, but he stayed on it.
That was really nice. I appreciate how you worded that.
Yes, but I say all that to say tomorrow in the Daytona 500, your cousin's going to be carrying tires for you. What's that mean?
So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. So when Greg was 17 years old, was just graduating high school, about to go into college, I was racing Supercross and just got my house. My parents actually moved in with me because we had 3 mortgages on the first house. They figured they rent that out, so I didn't even know I didn't know what the next step was. Yeah. But my cousin showed up, Special Greg, at my doorstep, and he had just been thrown out. A very awesome family, very Christian family, and my aunt Dawn had walked in, and his girlfriend just had his shirt on and nothing, and so she threw him out. And he comes to the doorstep, and the first night we watch a movie. Sorry, Greg. We watch a movie called Days of Thunder, and just randomly, and he watched that. He's like, "That is awesome!" And now I realize it was in fast motion and everything, but it was awesome. Just watching that first scene when Cole Trickle comes down on his motorcycle, gets in Rowdy's car. Yeah, and I was like, one day I'm gonna race a date. I you not. I was like, one day I'm going to race at Daytona 500. And he looked and he saw the pit crew. He goes, one day I'm going to be on your pit crew.
Dude.
Fast forward 10 years. We got a Nitro Circus, and everything's going well. I got a chance from Waltrip and everybody to kind of do that. He shows up with me my first day at Michael Waltrip Racing. He goes, hey, I'm here to be on the pit crew. And they laughed their ass off. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, I literally, like, I'm just moved in with Matt Crafton too. We all just like moved down in Matt's house. And, Greg's, he's funny, but he's just, if he puts his mind to it, he's like, yeah, of course that's going to happen. And he walked on 3 years later when I was already, chewed up and spit out by NASCAR. He had moved his wife down. He had kids. And his goal was to be the best tire carrier out there. And he's now working for Gibbs. And it's Toyota team, so he had to like work his way onto this team. He won the spot, and tomorrow at the Daytona 500 from 15, 20 years ago, him coming over watching Days of Thunder, we're getting to live that dream. So there's a long story,
That's
but
awesome.
it's pretty. For us, it means the world.
So
Corey
good.
tries to keep up with him on a mountain bike every now and then.
Dude, he smokes it. He's so fast on a mountain bike. He told me the story about – that's not even a story. Y'all rode – like, didn't you guys ride the Rockies, like, on bikes and trailers?
So I just finished X Games, so we were doing the rally season and X Games and everything, and I was just over my phone. I'm like, I'm leaving it behind. So I called Greg literally on a Tuesday. I'm like, hey, I'm going to ride the Continental Divide Trail. He's like, how much of it? I'm like, from Canada to Mexico, unsupported. I've never been camping in my life. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, when? I'm like, I could leave tonight or tomorrow morning. We went out unsupported from Canada to Mexico, and it snowed all the way through Colorado the whole time. And the first night, like, I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
What do you do? Like, Google, what supplies do I bring?
No,
Like,
I didn't even Google. We just went to like a freaking like
CVS?
a Bass Pro Shop. We're like, what do we need to like camp? So luckily Greg has gone. He's an outdoorsman a little better. So the first night we're in Montana, it's freezing cold. It was nice when we went to sleep, and I was tired, so I just put the whatever the tarp is over the top of the tent that I took me like an hour to put up. And the wind blows it off and starts raining. I lost the whole top. I wake Greg up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm going to freeze to death if we don't take off right now. We just started riding.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it took us 26 days.
And this is the guy I'm lining up next to. This crazy son of a tomorrow on the
gonna
Daytona
be
Well,
International.
great.
that
It's gonna
brings
be
up
awesome.
that brings up a great point. Being that Corey finished 24th last night, and you finished 13th. I didn't know if you had any advice for him.
Yeah, so Corey was 3 in front of me. I suggest you're a spotter checks the radar. If he didn't come into pit, he would have been there.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, but didn't bounce our way. But hopefully it bounces our way tomorrow because it's going to be bizarre. And you're no different than – well, you're a lot different than all the other ones. I see your scar on your hand. Your list of bodily injuries is – that's all it goes.
It's fused. Yeah, it's fused up, so I got a 4-point fusion. My dad's fused both ways, and then he has his thumb ripped off, so they reattached it. So he has all – so now that we don't do tolls that much, but he used to like – he couldn't – so I still got this motion, which is nice.
Wow. I mean, what MCLs, ACLs back?
So no ACL or PCL on this knee. So I've had 3 tibia plateau fractures, 2 so no cartilage or anything. I need a knee replacement in this one, but I'm trying to wait until at least I'm 40. Well, so
Hey.
when I was 10, the doctor said I had the knee of a 40-year-old, and my dad's like,
Boy.
I'm 41. Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of motocross, like you won Supercross here. That was your first win. How does this compare to like Bike Week here?
I got these shoes from Bike Week. Actually, the first time I met Michael Jordan was here. He sponsored Jason Pridmore team. We got to run around. I was actually like, pretty cool.
Those 6,
and Evel Knievel.
Did you see those 6 buses getting into 3 on the backstretch? Those are all MJ's compound. He's coming out this weekend.
I haven't been invited over there yet.
Me neither. So
okay, cool.
I know where it's at though.
But I still got my shoes from 2006. Yeah, I haven't got. Everyone else got new shoes. I was like, I qualified.
You're driving for the freaking guy. See if you can get a pair of shoes out of
I'm
the
gonna
deal.
work on it. I will not ask for an autograph. There's no one that holds a more presence than Michael Jordan. And talked very briefly coming in here. I was really impressed. Denny Hamlin. He's been at every meeting. Like, I know he's got his own everything going on. He has been so helpful and so over the top. Him, Kurt Busch, everybody really. I mean, for sure. Tyler and Bubba as well. But Kurt found out that I was there, drove an hour just to come at pit practice and just shoot the shit. It was cool. But Daytona, my first win, 16 years old, means the world to me to be here. This was Daytona, obviously, from the 500 and everything was always big. But Daytona was like, you're a man if you can win Daytona, especially when they used to do it during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Super hot, always. Longest race of the season.
Sandy.
Just beats you to death.
Yeah.
And was able to get my first win here. I crashed really hard halfway through the race. Didn't even remember kind of finishing the next couple laps. Hypothetically, it was before we knew what concussions were, so it was fine.
They weren't a thing back then.
No, it didn't
exist.
Didn't apply. Dude, I've already had to do a test for sliding across the grass at 10 miles an hour today. Anyway, long story long. Motorcycles, Daytona. This means the world. Just to be a part of the 500. It's the first race I've ever gone to that qualifying. Dude, I almost cried at qualifying because I'm I'm in. every other event, I would never even thought about qualifying. And if I didn't win, I'd be really pissed off. Like, my wife actually came down. She's like, I've never seen you happy at a race. I'm like, because until the end of the race, I didn't know if I won or lost. I'm like, I'm just happy to be here.
So what's a win look like tomorrow for you?
A win, well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, the trophy.
A win's a win. But for me, not qualifying for the race, but even going through the duels and not crashing out would have been good. Obviously, having the crash, at least it wasn't my fault. I could have done a much better job of not locking up, but I learned something there. A win is to be on that lead lap, to not crash, to cross the checkered flag. If we could be top 20, that would be absolutely monumental. And that's, there's so many people as you're qualifying, they're like, oh, you're going to win. I'm like hold up. Like,
there's a lot of good guys. Yeah,
every single person in this field is a better driver with these vehicles on pavement than I am. Do I believe I have a great car? Yes, I think I have the best Toyota in the field. I honestly do. And I am so thankful that the 2311 team, like, when I go out, I feel like my Toyota sucks in as good or better than any other car. And when they're saying, oh, we're a 2 or 3 tight or we're loose, my team has done amazing. And Toyota, a lot of the reason to go there was because they're like, we'll give you as much sim time as you want. And I understand there's nothing like being in the pack and that kind of stuff, but just to know my marks, to go out there and, we missed qualifying, in front of Jimmy Johnson by 0.000 whatever thousandths of a second, and we were a tenth faster than we needed to be. That tenth came from knowing the marks that I had to hit on the sim.
Yeah, that's what we actually asked that question. So you answered our question that we asked on the podcast last week: is how much time did you put into qualifying on the sim? And because you can't really race, not like iRacing.
You can launch and you can shift and do all the things like get up speed lap.
I'm so glad the sim wasn't accurate because I crashed so many times in my launch.
Did you?
Luckily, Tyler came out specifically to help me, and he crashed his first 3 out laps and just got off. He's like, you know what? Just
you
do
got
it.
it.
And I was like, it made me feel slightly better. So sorry, Tyler. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but yeah. So the sim, it's not perfect, but it is, when you get up to speed, and you don't feel the speed, you don't have the adrenaline, but I knew the lines, and I did so many laps. Everyone's like, yeah, most people don't come for restrictor plate races. Like, everyone else is, like, tested for the rest of the season. But I'm like, I'm only doing one.
Yeah.
And I know, like, everyone's like, oh, cool, after the truck race. Are you going to get back in trucks? No, I'm not good enough on pavement with rear wheel. I know that. I'm not saying, like, hey, I'm the best driver out there, but it's a restrictor plate race. Yeah. I have a great vehicle. I have a great team. And you know what? We're going to get on Jimmy Johnson's rear bumper, and I'm going to pull Connor Daly, who's sitting right over there, and we're going to go as far as we can up the field.
Oh, yeah.
We got a long way to go, but
even if we get 5 spots, I'm stoked.
No, man.
You got a long time to get there.
You got a long – dude, it's a long freaking race, man. But when they announced that you were driving that thing, I was so pumped up. Just to rub fenders with you again, it's been a long time. It's been a decade since we raced together in the K&N Pro Series. But, man – I know people just riding on the golf cart, people are pumped up that you're here. Fans are going to be pumped up to see you race with us this Sunday. But before you go, I got to ask you the same 3 questions I ask all of our guests. Question number 1.
All right.
If you had to pick one type of the question generally for race car drivers is you have to pick one race car and one racetrack. If you had to pick one vehicle and one course to race at, what are you going with? The rest of your life. You don't have to drive anything else, any track.
Can-Am, my backyard.
Oh, yeah. Like a Maverick?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
X3,
yeah. Those things are nasty, for sure. Question number 2, what's the most embarrassed you've been either at a Supercross race or NASCAR race, the most embarrassed you've been like at a professional event?
There's been so many embarrassing moments. It's very tough to call, but I'm going to go with my first ever Supercross. So the week before my first Supercross, like, I'm so excited. I'm 16 years old. So much hype coming off X Games and everything. Half the people are talking crap. The other people they either think I'm the worst or the best. But either way, there's everyone's watching. And I go out on my parade lap, and they're like, okay, just check out the track. And I just broke my wrist, or the thumb, like that scaphoid, why we have my wrist fused now.
Yeah.
I broke it the week before. And I didn't really say anything, but we had a cast. So I had a cast on my left wrist. So I go out and I do a heel clicker, and the crowd's standing on their feet. And I'm like, yeah. So I skip thinking about anything on the track, and I go up to the finish line jump, and I go to do a Superman seat grab.
Oh, my God.
I had a cast on my wrist, and my thumb hits on the inside of the fender, and I push it out. And I land one-handed in a Superman off the side, and I eat crap and launch the motorcycle. It takes out like they said, like a $200,000 camera at the time, and the camera guy flies off the side and ends up like he's got a sprained ankle. Like I'm almost like killed the camera guy. The camera's gone.
Where was that?
Indianapolis, 16 years old.
Is there tape on that?
Oh, God, yes. And I get back up to my bike. My handlebars are bent. I'm screwed. And I'm about to start my first ever pro race. My heart rate's already at 200. It's just spiking. The crowd's on their feet. Half of them are laughing.
Yeah.
Half of them are cheering. And I look, and I see my two heroes, Roger DeCoster and Jeff Stanton. And Jeff Stanton was Honda, and he was trying to pick me up, and he's giggling. And Roger DeCoster was Suzuki, and they got me. And Roger just shaking his head like, I can't believe what we just invested in. And that's kind of the story that sums up the rest of my career pretty much.
That's not like wrecking your bike in your backyard either. Those are like highly maintenance race bikes.
65,000 people. So with those bent bars and that lever that I knocked back straight that had the end broken off, I had been getting really crappy starts. I had so much adrenaline. I got second off that start. We ended up fourth that race. It was all right.
That's unbelievable, man. And I'm going to figure out how to tweak this last question, because generally I'm talking to somebody who has a very linear and straightforward career, right? Like it's a cup winner who has spent decades to try to get to that person or that place. You have got to the professional level in multi different facets and disciplines, right? Whether it's nitro or supercross or NASCAR. The question is,
that was nice you put NASCAR.
When did
I appreciate it.
I mean, you're here with the big dogs
All right.
racing the Great American Race.
Thanks, sir.
When was a moment in time of when you feel like you had made it?
You know, it's interesting because when you're a kid, everyone dreams of being in. Well, I mean, I only dreamed of being a motocrosser, but like an astronaut or whatever, a firefighter. And at a certain point in your life, you realize that dream's gone. I'm still that kid that just reality has never set in, and I keep pinching myself because we're here.
Yeah. So what's next? You got the Hoonigan stuff you're doing a lot of. Like, what's the next 5 years of TP look like?
You know what was really cool? It was the first ever NASCAR race that any member of the Block family has ever come to. Was just they took off school for Kira and Micah and Lucy, and she flew out here just to watch qualifying. Got the 6 a.m. flight back, kids back in school, just to kind of support that. And I'm there for whatever that the Block family needs. Obviously, you know, they kind of sold just that last year. So now like Wheel Pros and their awesome company and everything has kind of taken over Hoonigan, but they're still looking to run as a business. But for me, like we haven't even talked about anything that might go forward that way. Yes, I'd love to do Gymkhana. It's so much fun. It's such a great opportunity. I get to shut down my hometown. Like all the cops that usually you're like, you know,
talking your way out of a ticket.
Yeah, they're shutting down the street so you can go through at 130 miles an hour, drifting through your brick area and jump in the harbor, and it was awesome. And it then again in Florida, other than the broken back, was great. But that's Lucy's. That's Ken Block's legacy, and I think he only had me do that for a little bit, so that when his daughter, Leah, she's absolutely amazing. When she was 14, she was already racing rally. At 15, she got a top 10 in the U.S. Rally Championship, and she was only in a 2-wheel drive vehicle. That'd be like, I mean, it's like what I feel like Parker Kligerman, or maybe it's like Connor Daly, his vehicle that he's running the
Indy Lights in Indy race. Oh yeah, and Connor's car in the 500 tomorrow. He'll be okay. He'll be okay.
No, we're gonna shake and bake. We're coming all the way up.
Well, Travis, I appreciate you coming on. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank
you guys.
I'm excited for you tomorrow. Enjoy it. Take it in because it goes by. It's a long freaking day, man. But when they call your name to walk across the stage, it's a pretty special moment. So I hope you take it in.
Thank
you. I wish you
definitely
luck.
will. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, buddy.